Check Complete, a referee podcast, is an educational resource for referees by referees, designed to connect and develop soccer officials of all ages and skill levels to better serve the game both on and off the field.
We're back with episode 10 of the Check Complete podcast. Thank you for those who have been watching thus far. If you haven't, you have a lot of binging to do to catch up on some phenomenal content. I'm biased. Gordy Wetmore here with Check Complete. I'm alongside FIFA assistant referee Kyle Atkins. Hi,
How's
Kyle.
it going?
We're great. We're going to get to him in just a second. We are excited to sit down with Kyle. This episode is going to feature a long conversation with Kyle about his journey, his career, and some exciting things that you have coming right around the corner. Pretty cool. And then we have a fairly extensive list of questions.
Yeah, some good ones on here. I'm excited to get into it.
There's some doozies. And then stick around after the interview. We're going to have two more interviews from the recent Midwest Regional Championships. One is with a referee coach from that event. Actually, he was a referee coach at both the Midwest President's Cup tournament as well as the NCS Midwest Regional Championships. And so we'll sit down with Tyler, and then we'll also chat with Ali from Ohio about his experience at Midwest Regional Championships. And then he will be going next week as far as when we are filming this. You might be watching this sometime in the future, who knows. But he will be going to Orlando in July of 2022 to represent the Midwest region, Ohio, all that, at the National Championship Series for U.S. Youth Soccer. So two great interviews with them. You're in for what will hopefully be a great episode of the Check Complete podcast. And if you like it, don't keep it to yourself. Share this puppy, all right? Send it out to the masses. Doesn't even have to be referee related. But anyway, we're here with Kyle. And I'm super excited. Kyle, thank you for taking time.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
This is awesome. And so Kyle, it works out great because Kyle is a Kansas City native. I don't want to steal too much of your thunder as far as your story. So I guess that'll be our segue. Why don't you launch in just wherever you want to start. Tell us a little bit about your journey, how you've gotten from where you were to where you are today.
Well, I, like you said, Kansas City, born and raised. Apart from first 5 years of my life, I lived in New Jersey, but we don't talk about that. I started refereeing when I was 13 years old. Had always been playing. My dad used to play. Played in college for Slippery Rock University. Was a goalkeeper, just for a year. But he brought that enthusiasm for the game to me and my sister, and so we were always out at the fields playing. And so he decided to start field marshaling out at the Heritage Park. Mm-hmm. And he figured, if he was going to be out there all day, why not me be out there as well and make a little money on the side doing it? So he got me into a referee class. Entry-level clinic, and got me certified and started refereeing. And it has been a long road from there, but a lot of bumps along the way. But like for instance, when probably my first year, I was refereeing a few games out at Black Bob Park, and I don't even know who for. It was probably some unaffiliated game or something. Yeah. Rec league or whatnot, but real low-level stuff. Brand new wet behind the ears referee. And, like a lot of us starting out, we don't like getting yelled at by parents and everything. And I was really hearing it from the parents and the coaches on my games that day. And I had enough. And I had like a slate of 3 games and then a break and then 3 more games to finish off the day. And I lived close enough to Black Bob Park at the time that I was like, after my first 3 games, I'm like, I've had enough. I don't want to do this. So I packed up my stuff and I walked home. And my dad was outside in the garage when I walk up, and he's like, what the heck are you doing here? Maybe more colorful language than that. But I immediately broke down and I was crying because I just couldn't take it. I was so sick of the abuse that I was getting on the field. And I told him I don't want to do this anymore. I can't stand it. And he was like, well, tough. You made a commitment to your assigner to referee these games today and this weekend. So you're going to honor your commitment and work those games. And then after we're done with that, then we'll talk about it and we can see what we can do. So he drove my butt back out to Black Belt Park, and I finished out the day, and I haven't stopped refereeing since. So
What would have been?
yeah,
You know?
yeah, I know. I it's an interesting exercise to think about what my life would have been like if my dad had told me.
We'll do that off camera. There's a couch you can lay on and you can
Right.
process this.
Honestly.
But, yeah.
But yeah, I owe a lot to him, you know, having me have the strength of character to honor my commitments and teaching me a good lesson there to not give up, and it's carried me a long way. But you know, from there, ref so many games out at Heritage, and then the OP soccer complex and Shields soccer complex now through the years, and you know, eventually finding a real passion for it. I've always enjoyed the game, and I had a knack for it. I started becoming good, and I enjoyed working with the people that I was getting assigned games with, and I was always looking to get feedback from other people to see how I could get better. Just because I felt like if I got better, people wouldn't yell at me as much.
Sure.
It certainly couldn't hurt. So I started doing more games, getting more feedback, and eventually, I think it was Kai told me once, "Would you ever consider getting upgraded?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'd never been told the concept of, you know, that we have a ladder system to make this, you know, a career path or referee higher levels. And so I, you know, looked into it, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. That's something I could start doing." And so I started that process, and I did my first assessment on a state cup game to get my grade 7 badge. It's not grade 7 anymore. I think it's grassroots.
Still grassroots.
Still
yeah.
grassroots. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so upgrade, I had a good enough game that I passed the assessment, and that year I was able to go to youth regionals. And you know, when you go to regionals, you get noticed by so many people. You get in front of a brand new group of referees and instructors and assessors, and so it aids is an identification event for you know, other referees to, you know, climb the ladder. So I got in front of people and started, you know, doing better games and getting noticed and getting more assessments, getting my state badge, and then start thinking about going and doing declaring for a national badge. And along the way, doing amateur matches and so many youth games at varying levels, and doing a smattering of high school games here or there. All the way up to PDL when we had the Kansas City Brass in town way back in the day. And then having to make the decision what path I wanted to go. You know, I could back up a little bit, because before getting a national badge, that's a huge time commitment. You have to dedicate a lot of time and resources to, you know, traveling across, building your portfolio, getting assessments, paying assessors, the fees, and traveling to games. And so you really have to decide when you're going to do that. And I can remember very clearly in college, I was going to K-State, and I was like, I really enjoy the game, and I feel like I have an aptitude for this. And I was like, and I had seen, you know, I really wasn't a fan of MLS or anything. I always, you know, watch professional soccer, international soccer, but I started thinking about it more. I'm like, you know what, I think I could really see myself doing this for a living, and I can see a pathway for me to do that. And so I need to, you know, really commit to it. And so I decided in college pretty early on that I wanted to do that. And so I would go home on the weekends instead of going out, and come back to Kansas City and referee games. And I drove down that trip to Kansas City from Manhattan on I-70 every weekend, come back and referee all kinds of matches just to get more and more experience. And I loved it. Certainly had my fun at K-State, don't get me wrong, but I coming back and dedicating my time to improve and get better and hone my craft through those years when I was at K-State really helped me going forward. And once I came back home, I really was able to dive in and declare what I wanted to be as a referee or assistant referee. And there was some debate on which way I should go. Because I loved being a referee. And I still do. I don't do it nearly as much as I used to. I haven't blown a whistle for a couple of years since pandemic started. I stayed away from indoor game, but they make you declare referee track or assistant track, and I was always told, we could see you as a referee, and our SRA at the time, still now, Bill Davey, told me, I had been leaning towards being an assistant referee, and he said, well, take another year, get more games as a referee, and see if you still want to after a year, and make your decision then. I certainly did. I took my time. I worked more games as a referee, and I got assessments as a referee, and I had a chance to be able to do that. I could have decided to be a national referee, or at least try to go that path. But I felt that my skill set was better suited as an assistant referee. I always think that you can tell you like being an assistant if you really love those decisions where a defender is sprinting up the field and an attacker is sprinting the other direction, and you want to have that decision. If you like making those decisions, then you want to be an assistant referee. And I love doing that. And I think for you to succeed at a high level as a referee, you have to have a certain kind of personality. Not necessarily. You got to have a little bit of an ego too, not a little bit of ego, a lot of confidence. While I have the confidence, I don't think I have that little spice that you need as a referee. I certainly don't like all the attention on me all the time, so being an assistant referee suits me very, very well, except for when the camera's on me after I call offside. That's why always keep your flag down. So I was like, after the year of doing more games as a referee, I decided that I would still want to pursue being an assistant, and so I built my portfolio, refereed at various tournaments, traveled all over the place for games, doing Open Cup out in Chicago, or amateur games in Indiana, or going down to Orlando for Disney Showcase, just all over the place for matches. And building your portfolio, getting your assessments, and luckily enough, I put in the work, and they approved me to be a national assistant referee. And then I benefited greatly from the NWSL forming and coming around, and Kansas City being awarded a franchise. And I was able to get assigned to the very first NWSL match ever.
Oh, really? Wow.
FC Kansas City versus Portland Thorns in Kansas City in front of over 7,000 people out at Shawnee Mission West, I think it was.
Yeah, one of the Shawnee Mission North, I think, is where it was. Yeah, the big complex. Oh, wow.
Yeah, with Carrie Seitz, and Katie Nesbitt was the other assistant referee on the game, and John Freeman was the fourth official for that.
Wow.
It was really, really cool. It was my first professional match. Was here in Kansas City on that historic game. It was really, really neat. But that jump started my career professionally, and I started working more and more games in NWSL. Really, honed my craft in that league, and performed well enough that they assigned me to the final the first year.
Oh, wow.
So I got to bookend my games with Carrie Seitz. She did the final in the final game.
Oh, my.
Work with her in that out in New York, Western New York Flash versus Portland.
Wow.
It was
That's a whole other
heck of an
conversation
experience.
of, doing those, but working with Carrie Seitz too.
Yeah,
That's,
she's an incredible woman. It was incredible. It was
Yeah.
an amazing experience. But having that experience at the professional level really got me in the spotlight for MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got identified, and the people within NWSL. Sandra Serafini was the assigner for that. She, helped a lot in pushing me towards MLS. And they, in 2014, I got my first. 2013 was the first year of the NWSL. 2014, I'm still doing NWSL games, and I get the call from MLS to do a trialist game. And my very first one. Columbus Crew versus Houston Dynamo. And I remember at the time I was selected by U.S. Soccer to go to Denmark for a tournament, a U17 national tournament called the Open Nordic Cup, where they have all the Nordic countries come together and play in a tournament.
And storm a village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get on a Viking ship, rowboat, and everything else.
Yes.
You ever seen The Northman? It's just like that.
What a tournament.
No, but I'm out there with Marcos de Oliveira. We get selected and as a duo and referee games together out there. And I'll never forget on our flight back, we land in Germany, and I get the email for the assignment, and I'm just like in shock. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And so nerves calm down. I go out and do the game. My parents show up to the game, and John actually had a game in Arkansas, I think. And ended up flying, and he surprised me by flying from Arkansas to Columbus to be there for my first match. So I got a picture with him up in the stands, and
awesome.
It was really awesome to have him there for that special moment. But I did well in the game, and at the end of the year, I got a call from Pro to ask if I would be interested in joining them for a preseason camp, and you're not going to say no to that. So, and so I showed up for preseason camp, and I'll never forget. All leading up to that, any kind of event that we would go to, we were always supposed to, travel in our dress blues, like the blue blazer, gray slacks, real formal.
Wow.
Up to that point, it was
Sword.
what we were supposed to. Yeah,
everything.
Coat of arms, the whole shebang. So my experience was always traveling dressed very nicely.
Yeah.
And so I show up to preseason camp dressed in my dress blues, and I'm at the rental car facility because we have a schedule for who all is supposed to get a rental car together and all show up at camp at the same time. And there's some other guys from Pro that get there, and they look at me, and they're all dressed in casual wear, just sweatsuits, and they're like, "You're a rookie, aren't you?"
Oh no!
Yeah, this is definitely my first year.
Yes.
I was so embarrassed.
Oh man!
And certainly getting to the hotel, everybody else is dressed casually, and here I am strutting in my suit, and I'm like, oh god, embarrassed. But then so 2014, my first year, I did about like 15 or so games my first year. I had a solid season, and things went well enough that they let me keep coming back. And then that was 2015, my first year. Then a couple of years in the league, I fought through some injuries. I ended up having back surgery for a herniated disc. That was a tough one to get through. Then I had a groin injury, a grade 2 groin strain that I had to get through. But touch wood, now I've been healthy as can be.
Right.
But after those injuries, I was, the dream has always been to when I started taking this seriously, I was like, I want to be MLS assistant referee. Got to there, and then the dream was always, FIFA badge, World Cup. That's always been in the distance. And then as you climb the ladder, those dreams start getting closer and stop becoming dreams, and they're still dreams, but they become goals.
Right. More accessible.
Much more accessible. And so I can see that the possibility is getting closer. And I'm hearing things from people like, you're doing a good job, keep up the good work, people are taking notice. And in 2017, I'm getting an email from U.S. Soccer inviting me to be on the FIFA referee panel as an assistant referee for 2018, and I'm crying in my room.
Just a normal email? Was there an emoji? Was there an emoji in there?
I don't know if Rick sent an emoji.
Oh, okay. All right. Shoot.
I was in tears.
Yeah.
Calling my dad and John and everybody, and just it was incredible to find a culmination of my entire career to get to that moment that not a lot of people get to be on that panel. And then I was coming off of an injury, and I have to then run the biggest fitness test of my life.
Right.
Up to that point, because if I fail, there's no badge. And then I'd already been invited to an international tournament right after that fitness test, so I have to pass this, otherwise I'm not going to that. Yeah. And everything worked out, but I had a good first year on the panel. Good enough that in 2019 I was able to go to the U20 championships for CONCACAF, which then led to the U20 World Cup. And then that led to the Club World Cup at the end of the year. And in between, right after the U20 World Cup, I went to the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Spent a total like 70 days away from home over the summer, working games and being in 2 different tournaments, and then getting to go to Qatar at the end of the year for the Club World Cup. And then 2020, we had pandemic, but we had MLS's back tournament. Went and spent a month in the bubble out in Orlando. It was an interesting experience getting to do that. And then coming back and doing MLS stuff. And then, 2021 was Tokyo.
Yeah, that little thing called the Olympics.
Little thing called the Olympics.
I mean, we keep looking ahead towards the World Cup, and as you're telling this story, I'm going, you went to the Olympics too.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a wild experience too. Tokyo is something else. But we had a great tournament out there as well, and then we're doing well domestically. Myself, Ismail Elfath, the referee on my crew, and the other assistant referee, Corey Parker. We're all doing well domestically and on our international matches. And then we have World Cup qualifying matches, and we keep getting told, if we do well enough on these, we keep things, under wraps, don't make any big waves, make any controversial decisions, or don't make FIFA look bad in these games. Right. Then we've got a good shot at going to the big show. And because we've done well enough, we did the U20 World Cup final in Poland, and we did really well at the Club World Cup, and we did really, really well in Tokyo. And so we checked all the boxes that we needed to check, but we still, there's still always, are we going to get it? We know that we were in contention to get selected for the World Cup, and just a couple months ago, we got the notice that we'd been selected as...
Was that an email too?
That was an email. We actually found out on Twitter from the somebody leaked or something. We saw the news about the women referees getting selected for the first time for the World Cup, and we're like, oh, that's awesome. And then it dawned on us, oh, well, that means the list must have been released. And we find the list, and our names are on it, and we're getting text messages and calls from everybody about it. And so, yeah, we got the nod, and we're going to be going.
I just assumed it was like you were asking somebody out in middle school. Like FIFA sent you a note that was like World Cup, check yes, no, or maybe.
They
send a napkin back.
You get a lot of emails asking for availability. This is one they do not ask for availability.
It's a Google form.
Yeah. No. Are you available from November to December 30th? Yeah, you're always going to say yes.
I don't know if they got my standby email. I said I could be on standby.
They mentioned something about you in Paraguay at our seminar.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awkward then. Just tell Pierluigi I'm still available.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, he'll go Gordy who. Anyway,
that kind of brings us to where we are today. I'm still doing MLS. I just finished up a game for the Seattle versus Portland rivalry match last weekend, and this now you caught me in my mid-season break, self-imposed mid-season break.
Okay.
It's a long year leading into the World Cup because normally it'd be during the summer.
Right. Right.
But since it's in Qatar, it's very hot during the summer. They're having the World Cup in November. So I have to manage my workload this year leading into the World Cup, so I'm peaking at the right time. So I'm taking this 3-week break at the middle of the season just so I can shut things down, recharge the batteries so I can ramp things up again and be ready for the end of the season. Wow. And hopefully have a good World Cup. But yeah, that's awesome. Brings us to full career arc up to this point.
Right. Yeah, there was that was so good, and I appreciate hearing the whole story. I mean, it's amazing to hear that. Whenever you got started, what was that 40 years ago?
Sometimes it feels like it.
Many years ago. That's the still is that, and it's still. I don't know if we've peaked in the epidemic as far as fan behavior and abusive referees. I mean, that continues to be an issue. It was for you, and it is for countless others. And so maybe there's those that can take heart in that story, that if you've been run off a field in whatever way, get back out there. And what we were saying is huge, the honoring of the commitment. And, there are times when I get it. I've had moments where I'm like, I need to, maybe the self-imposed break after you've had a rough weekend is not a bad idea. But I'm going to get back out there. I'm not going to let some D-bag fan end my career. I'm going to step out on my own terms, I guess.
And a big part of it, my success has been, and I'm sure a lot of the other referees that have been in my position can attest to this as well, is having a good support system.
Right.
Without my dad being there to really push me like that and honor my commitment and still be supportive of me and honor and maybe wanting to give it up and entertaining that conversation, just knowing that I have that support is huge. And I wouldn't be able to do any of this without the support of my family and friends and certainly my colleagues as well.
Right.
If you don't have that support structure, it's tough to really go far in this profession.
And I think the beautiful thing about this profession is there is a lot of camaraderie as you dig deeper into it, and as you invest in yourself and invest in the community, you'll find the community does tend to invest back into you.
I've met some of my best friends on the referee on the soccer field, going to different tournaments and everything. Friends that I'll have for the rest of my life, going out to Midwest regionals, and meeting people and guys that I still talk to today, and people that refereeing has taken me all over the world, and I have friends in Italy and Germany and Australia and just everywhere. It's amazing. It's something that I never would have expected when I got into it, just to make some money when I was growing up. That it could take me to Qatar for a World Cup.
Right.
It's absolutely incredible.
Right. And speaking of the World Cup, just to give some perspective on this, Brendan Sweetman, one of our esteemed colleagues and team members of the Check Complete podcast, also one of my roommates, dug up some good statistics for us. There were 36 referees, 69 assistant referees, and 24 VARs selected to participate at the World Cup. So they were selected based on their performance at FIFA tournaments, international competitions, and domestic leagues. That process began in 2019. They are representing 46 countries worldwide. And this is the first tournament, like as you mentioned, that social media kind of leaked. That is the first tournament. They'll have 3 referees and 3 ARs that are females that'll be at this event. So really exciting for that. The United States has 5
5
that are
officials
going 5 officials. So you 3, Katie Nesbitt and Armando Villarreal,
Yep,
right?
as a VAR.
VAR, okay. So we've got that. So it's really exciting.
Incredibly exciting. Just a historic moment having female referees come in and refereeing with us. And we've been trained. There was a shift in how FIFA handled our training at tournaments, especially like at the Olympics. They normally would keep us separate because it'd be 2 separate events, the women's tournament and the men's tournament, and they would be separate instruction and everything. But now it's all blended. And so we were learning the exact same stuff that the women were learning and vice versa. And we were all training together and all learning from each other. And I got to tell you, the female referees are absolutely incredible that we've got going to this event. They've been doing all the same games, World Cup qualifying stuff that the men have been doing, and absolutely have earned their spots on the field with us. Wow. It's awesome to see them to get this opportunity. Well deserved.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting to see that. We're excited to see, just as you've got a big group, a support team. You got 4 people sitting in this room are excited to support you, but also our whole group of American referees, and really the whole referee team as we go into world. When you get in on this side of the whistle or the flag, it changes the way you watch games.
Yeah,
and so
it really does.
None of us will make it probably to that level, right? Sorry, Brendan, maybe Mark, no, lost cause back there, but but still, even if you've been on that side of things, you watch these games, and I'm sitting there going, like, even when I go to like a Sporting Kansas City game, I'm a Sporting Kansas City fan. I can say that I'm not going anywhere to where that's going to be a problem for me. But I'm a Sporting Kansas City fan. But when I go, I'm a referee fan.
Yeah,
I go to watch the crew, and I'm like, and it drives me nuts. It's hard for me to watch games. I'm sitting there going, like, this lady's behind me screaming about something. I'm like, yes, it's a yellow card. I know it's not that hard of a foul, but there's nobody else there, and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. So we're excited to see you continue to excel, and we're very proud of you. I think we've said that many times, but we're very proud of you to see what that looks like. And I know it's always about the next one. It's trying not to look too far down the road,
Sure.
but I would be remiss if I didn't say there's probably a level of excitement for you that the World Cup will be in the United States or in North America, specifically Kansas City will be hosting.
It is?
In 2026.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
First up, we have Kansas.
We're gonna show out and put on a really good show for them. Then from the refereeing side of things, my mind is blown that it's a possibility that, touch wood, that I am still in contention for going in 2026, and the possibility of working a game in Kansas City in the World Cup, that would take my career completely full circle. And I'd probably leave my boots and flag on the field after that game and say I'm done.
Right. What an exciting opportunity. That would be incredible. So very good.
Regardless if it happens or not, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching games because if the World Cup comes to the United States, you can't not go.
You can't not go. Yeah, I know. With us being in Kansas City, I've had some people come out of the woodwork going, hey, in 2026, I'm going to register my couch as an Airbnb. That's what I'm going to do, so I can charge people to sleep there. But, well, very good. We could talk for a lot more about the specifics and intricacies of your journey, but I do want to get into some of our questions because that will kind of pull out some more of that kind of stuff. So we got a lot here. We'll just start kind of go through some of these, and we won't take too much more time, but this is so good. So we'll just start at the top of what I've kind of printed out. Tyler Soyer asked a couple questions here about pregame routine, and then he kind of asked a follow-up question. It's a different one about difficult tasks when it comes to being an AR. So what is pregame routine? And that also kind of comes into some of the other questions about how do you prepare, get your mind right to work at the highest level. And I would guess that there's probably some things in what you're about to say that doesn't matter what level you're working. There's a mindset that needs to be engaged.
Yeah,
So what's that look like?
Absolutely. For me, I mean, it starts with your preparation for the match. I always talk about what's one thing that, advice to referees coming up, and it's controlling the things that you can control, and that's your preparation for the game, be that knowing the laws of the game or knowing the teams that you're going to be involved with, down to your fitness and how hard you're working out on the field. So the first step for me is my training every day. We have sports scientists at Pro that give us prescribed training regimen that we have to complete and submit data for every day, so that at the end of the week we're primed and ready to go for a match. Then we come match day, everybody's got their own routine when it comes to the day of the game. Like for me, the night before, I usually carb heavy, eating out Italian or something, just so I load up on carbs, and then have a light breakfast that morning. Eat again like 6 hours before the match. Nothing crazy, probably like a chicken sandwich or something like that. But we all have these like little things that we do throughout the day to get ourselves prepared, and I do a lot of sleeping. I'm king of naps when it comes to game day. Corey and Ish are always give me a hard time because they always seem to be sleeping. Any chance I can get, even on the car ride to the stadium, I could be taking a nap.
That's amazing.
So I'm pretty relaxed when it comes to game day. I try and not stress about anything. I take things easy. Usually go on a walk, like a 15-minute walk after lunch, and shake the rust out of the legs. But then it's showering, getting ready for the game, doing a little touch up to the beard, and then going out to the stadium, getting there a couple hours early, and then once we get there, before we go out on the field, it's a lot of getting the right playlist or some visualization, and that's a lot of what prepares me for the match immediately before the game. Is when we go out for our warm-up, I do a lot of visualization of things I'm going to be doing in that match. So a lot of times teams will do like a five-a-side game, or like they'll have a little box and offense, defense, and pass the ball around in that little box. And I'll go to the sideline and hold an imaginary flag and line up with the second to last defender and practice my movements for the match, and pretend that there's an offside situation here or there, or foul, throw in, do all of my signals, and then make a sprint down to the end line, and just visualize what I'm going to be doing and bringing it out in my training before the game, so that I'm already in that mindset before we even step out on the field for the actual game, so that I'm not caught behind once the whistle blows. I'm ready and primed and already thinking about what my decision's going to be. So that's probably the biggest thing is doing stuff that you're that practicing what you're going to be doing in the match before you get on the field.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably my biggest thing.
So if you see a referee warming up, like reaching for the back pocket,
hey,
places, you're like, oh boy.
If you watch some of the referees, they'll maybe not go so far as to pull out that, because you are able to give yellows and reds before when you're on the field like that. But they'll run around and do the movements like they would in a match.
Sure.
In their pregame warm up. So like making the hard run down to the corner flag into their area of control, and then making counterattacking runs or moving around the center circle and just sidestepping when they need to, or backpedaling when they out where they need to, just so they're doing the same kind of visualization that in the middle of the field that I'm doing from the sideline. So it's
interesting.
Yeah.
I would do that, but I carved heavy the day of the match, typically. I carved heavy the night before and the day of, so there's not much room. Anyway, all right. Speaking of carbing and food, a question came in from this person named John Freeman that asked, what is your favorite Chinese buffet entree? And I did ask the backstory. Apparently you guys, in your coming up together, hit up quite a few Chinese buffets.
We have been known to be Chinese buffet connoisseurs. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, anytime we'd be on a road trip, we'd always try and find a Chinese buffet, strip mall, someplace that had something. And a lot of times we'd try and save our money by going to those Chinese buffets because we wouldn't be making much on these trips. But probably you got to go with General Tso's. Everybody's got a different one, so you got to go and see who's got the best. And some are better than others, but I'd have to go with General Tso's on that one.
It's almost like pulled pork or brisket at Kansas City barbecue places. You just got to try that because it's a staple. Yeah. So I would agree, General Tso's. I was afraid you were going to say like the sugar donut or like that rat on a stick thing or whatever that is.
Come on.
Whatever those things are.
Those things are good.
They are.
Those are really good.
They are, I got to admit.
I got a soft spot for some trash Chinese food.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Okay. So a couple more questions. Georgia Soccer Referees account asks, what's the thing that motivates you to always improve and perform at the best level?
Oh man, I've got a passion for the game. I think first and foremost that I want to give my best to this game that has given me so much. So doing whatever I can to make sure that I'm at my best to serve the game in the best way possible is very motivating for me. And then making my family proud is a big motivating factor, and I've got this desire in myself to want to be the best and that I can possibly be, and that's I think you got to have some of that in yourself and drive within yourself to succeed in this field.
Right. Wow, that's great. So a question that caught your eye as we talked about questions before. This comes from Travis Smith, who's was a previous guest on our episodes on our podcast. Has the implementation of VAR improved or been detrimental to your confidence making calls knowing that it could be overturned in front of millions?
At first, it was like, do I really want to be overturned? How am I going to handle getting it wrong? Even though I hope it doesn't happen very often, right. It does happen. But it didn't really change much for me when I actually got on the field for it. We were always taught from the very beginning of when they implemented it that we are supposed to go out there and referee like it's not even there.
Right.
Certainly, it's a safety net for us on the field, which I love. But for me, it's business as usual up until that point. So I'm not, obviously we have certain things that we have to think about as an AR in terms of offside delay for VAR. But outside of that, it's not affecting my decisions as they would previously. Like before, VAR is the same as now with VAR for me, decision-wise. Luckily, now it just proves that I get the decisions right more often than not. Right. So I have that. I have VAR to thank for that.
Right.
So it's not me worrying about am I going to get this wrong. It's just they're going to show that I am right on the decisions that I'm making. So, I think it's good for the game to get those egregious errors out of the game,
Yeah.
and more times than not, it shows that we, collectively as officials, are getting the calls right on the field.
Right.
And if we don't, it gives us the opportunity to get it to come back and change it and get it right.
So then we go back to that, the follow-up question we didn't really quite get to with Tyler was, what do you think the most difficult task that you face as an assistant referee?
Probably if you do get something wrong, it does get overturned, having to turn around and reset and move past it as quickly as possible. That's always a challenge for anybody. You don't want to fail at your job, and when you do, you can't. It's tough to not dwell on it a little bit.
Sure.
It's human nature to be like, we're our own worst critics a lot of times as referees, and but you're out there. You still got a job to do, and so you have to move past it, do whatever you can to focus on the task at hand. So for me, I try and push it away. I think, all right, reset. What's my next decision going to be? I focus on nailing the next decision, doing everything I can to get the next decision right, and building off of that. And then I'll dwell on the missed decisions after the game.
Right.
And give myself 24 hours to lament.
Right.
And then I'll learn from it. I use it as a growing opportunity. Because you can't do it. You can't dwell on it in the game, because then you're going to miss the next decision.
Right.
And it's just going to compound and become a snowball effect.
Is there anything that goes on as far as crew communication over the communication devices? I know, like, when I've had a chance to work with those, and the crew member makes a particularly difficult decision or something, just provide some initial feedback, like, Kyle, good work. Good work. Is there anything as far as, or does everybody just kind of stay away from that? Like, if you had a call overturned, or the rest of the crew just goes, we're going to let him move on.
It depends on the people you work with.
Sure.
But I'd say for the most part, everybody's really supportive. They pump you back up. They try and do what they can. They know that you just had a tough moment, and they're going to try and build you back up as best they can. Hey, move on. It's okay. You got this. Let's go on to the next decision. We're still doing great. Let's go. And we try not to dwell on it. We're always like, just move past it. Let's go. Let's move on to the next thing. And then we'll talk about it afterwards. And they do some on the opposite end. Some people like to be pumped up on good decisions. I'm not one of them. I don't. The VAR can come in and say, you got it right, or whatever. Check complete's the only thing I need to hear.
Yeah.
that they got it right. That I got it right. Check complete.
Yeah.
So I don't need that extra confirmation to know I'm doing fine, because I'm in the mindset that VAR is not there. It's just for after the fact. So it depends on the person. If and we talk about that in pregame sometimes. What kind of stuff do we want from the VAR? What do they want from us, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's nobody like over there thinking there's a job opening on the FIFA panel after you miss a second offside decision or something.
Listen, I'm sure there are a lot of people looking at that. No, we've got a lot of good assistant referees coming up that are joining the ranks at pro, and it's really good motivation for me. Sure. To stay ahead, to keep working hard, because I know I've got really capable people behind me pushing for a spot.
Right.
So it's just like a soccer team. If you're a starter, you got people on the bench that want to get playing time, want to get minutes, and you got to perform out on the field. And so that's motivation enough for me to keep working, so I can keep my spot.
Yeah, that's great. Very good. So let's see what else. There is a question about the beard. Will Franklin does want to know how you get the beard to look so good. I don't know if there's any tips and tricks.
A lot of oils and creams, washing, and meticulously manicuring this. No, it's I think for a long time it was always about being clean cut and all business, but in this day and age, it's normal for anybody to have facial hair. As long as it's kept trim and tidy, it's not a big deal for anybody anymore.
Right.
So I just make sure I trim it up on game day and make sure I'm not looking all scruffy, and no problem.
Yeah. Well, it looks lovely.
Well, thank you. Yours does too.
Well, thank you. I shaved under here. I let this grow a little bit, and I hate it. But yeah.
I've got a few weeks off, so I'm going to be looking a little haggard here a little while.
Well, yeah, exactly. Slightly weathered. Mark Tiemann, our cameraman, is twisting his mustache.
Oh, every November, Mark.
It's quite the feat. Yeah,
I can't decide if I'm going to bring out the Movember mustache for the World Cup or not.
Oh my gosh, that would be so good. Can we sign a petition? It's like an online petition. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if the beard factors into this, but somebody named Corey Rockwell wanted his question was simple. Yeah, question was simple. Was how cool are you?
Now, listen, Corey. I will never be as cool as you are, sir. I don't think I have even a quarter of the following you do online, nor will I ever.
I think in order for Corey to hear us, we have to be like this, right?
Or tearing through a corner flag.
Yes. Oh, that is fantastic. I don't know what question to end this on as far as fan questions, but we had several other ones. I think we've asked, or we kind of answered them in your story. Colby Carson asked some questions, and I really appreciate you guys reaching out. Kyle from out east asked about the FIFA list. We already talked about that, but he did say nice name.
Hey,
so
you too, Kyle.
Couple of Kyles bonding over a podcast. Very good. We're all about uniting Kyles in our effort as the Check Complete podcast.
There are literally tens of us.
Yes. So I guess I don't know if there would be. Travis had another question. We'll ask this one, then I'll give you a final one that we can kind of give you the last word in the interview. But do you have any embarrassing moments from your referee career?
Oh, God. A few. You never want to drop your flag as an AR.
Oh, I know where this. I saw this one.
It's happened on occasion to me. Most recently in the MLS's
the bubble
final.
Yeah,
yeah, between
I do remember
Orlando and Portland. And it wasn't just that I dropped my flag during the normal run of play. I was just about to call offside, and it just flew out of my hand. So I had to, resort to just the arm.
That is fantastic.
Arm up. And Ish looked at me really funny when I put my arm, like, what are you doing? I'm calling offside. Ish, just please blow the whistle so I can pick my flag up and go back to my business.
Right.
But yeah, I've somehow gotten hit with the ball, not directly at me, but came from way up in the air. I didn't know it was coming, and everybody's like, duck, and I'm like, right off the top of my head.
Wow.
But other than that, I haven't fallen or run into any corner flags or anything like that.
Not that we have anybody in mind, yeah.
No.
Wow, yeah, I do. See, that's the bad thing about, like I told you, I watch a lot of your and John's games, so that's kind of the double-edged sword of having such a fan base, is that nothing's hidden, right?
No,
if it happens, you're going to hear it.
Yeah. We always loved coming up. You could hide with some bad camera angles or some of these places that didn't have a whole lot of, maybe 3 cameras. Your offside decisions are a little bit better because you get the benefit of the doubt a little bit more. But there's certainly no hiding anymore for me, and I always get texts when something like that happens.
Yeah,
if not from somebody back home, or Joe Fletcher will be like, "What the heck are you doing out there?"
Well, it makes me think of a specific college assigner that you and I both know that talks about how with video, he goes, now I can't, if somebody was pissing me off, I could just call them offside as an AR. He's like, now with video, I can't do that. It's like, nope, you can't.
No.
Oh, gosh. He probably doesn't even know how to work a podcast. So I could probably name him.
I think you're pretty safe.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Anyway, Well, thanks for your time, man. This has been so wonderful. I will give you the last word. If there's anything, as I always say, if there's anything that you wouldn't be able to sleep tonight unless you said this on the Check Complete podcast, if you have anything that you want to add, now is your chance.
Oh my goodness! Wow, way to put me on the spot.
Should have put that on the list.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. Just if there's anybody wants to reach out with any other questions, just reach out on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or reach out to you and you can get to me. And I'm always happy to help anybody who wants to improve, wants to get better with refereeing. And, a lot of times people don't ask us for help.
Right.
But I'd say a lot of the pro referees or FIFA referees are more than happy to lend a hand and give back by answering questions or helping somebody analyze a clip or whatever, just to get a professional perspective on things.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to do that. Anybody who wants to reach out and keep plugging away. You never know what's possible. Refereeing can take you anywhere.
That's right. Kyle, thank you so much. Appreciate you, buddy.
I'm really happy we finally got to do this.
I am too.
I'm excited to sit down with Tyler Soyer. Tyler, well, I already gave away the first question. What was your name? So I already gave that away. But where are you from?
I am from South Dakota's delegation, but I live in Southwest Minnesota in Woodstock, Minnesota.
Okay, very good. And what's your capacity? That's going off script slightly, but what's your day job? That applies to this.
Yeah, I am the director of referees for Dakota Alliance Soccer Club based out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm in charge of recruitment and development of referees, and then I assign all their games that they have, which is around 1,800 games a year.
Wow. Okay. So basically the short of that is we will be having you back on for a longer interview to hear what you guys are doing up there. That's essentially what I just gathered from that.
That would be awesome.
Yes, I would love to. And you and I have had conversations with the new role that I'm in, and I think we're not in a place anywhere across the United States to hoard good ideas. So if there's stuff that's working in different areas, it's the time to share that. I know you guys have been up to some really good stuff. So we'll come back to that in another time. But you attended both regional events in a different capacity than in years past. Why don't you just kind of give us a summary of that?
Yeah, so this year I had the opportunity. I've transitioned from a referee to now a referee coach / mentor. And so I've been in referee world for 19 years. And this was my first event. President's Cup was my very first event being in the role of a mentor. So it's really been awesome, to be honest with you, to be able to give back what the knowledge of my first regional back in 2004.
Wow.
What I've learned over the course of my 19-year career, and, just helping out today's referees. But it was fantastic. I was really nervous going into President's Cup, not knowing how am I going to do, but I came out of NCS feeling great. Based off referee feedback, fellow mentor feedback, just communicating. So I'm kind of the new guy to that part. So I'm still learning all these older coaches, mentors. So the networking is tremendous.
Yeah. You highlighted a lot there that I want to come back and talk about. We talked about before we started recording, you and I had similar journeys in this as far as being in officiating for me, 15 years, doing a lot on the referee side, now being moved into this admin role, but then this coaching mentoring group. And not that I'm interviewing myself here to steal any thunder, but man, did I feel that same level of anxiety of like, what am I going to be able to contribute here? Especially when you see the lineup of people that you're next to, you know? And so it's just like, oh, and so the P Cup event for me was the same type of thing. I won't go down my journey, but it was the same. I think we probably mirrored without knowing it, the same level of emotions going into it. So before we go to what those two events look like, I do want to hear just a little bit about your referee journey. How did you get into officiating all those years ago?
All right. So how I first started is I was playing, all through my youth days, and then I started playing the Premier Development League, which is no longer anymore. For 2 years, I had 7 knee surgeries in a year and a half time, and I wanted to know how could I give back to the game since I really can't play anymore. And I don't know who it was, but they came and said, "Hey, you get the front row to the best game in the world. Become a referee." And so I was, it was like 2003 when I first started, and I was a senior in high school, and that's pretty much where my journey started. And I've just been working ever since. I got all the way up to grade 6, which is now considered the regional referee. And then I stepped away for 2 to 3 years just to focus on some personal matters. And at that time, they let me go emeritus. And then U.S. Soccer came back, changed all this to grassroots, regional, and I came back active as a grassroots just because I want to give back to the game and develop youth referees. And refereeing is just, we're the third team out on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And that's the main focus is how can I give back to the game and still have fun?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the 2 weeks. You already mentioned coming into the President's Cup event, which took place in St. Louis, which feels like forever ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But it was sometime in the recent past. And then the NCS Midwest Regional Championships that took place in the Indianapolis area. So going into those 2 weeks, you already kind of acknowledged some of the emotions that you were feeling. What was that first week like for you at President's Cup?
Man, I tell you, it was hot for one. Let's just
start.
But I was really nervous. This was my first ever event as a mentor coach. I knew what the referee side of thing was, but I was worried are they really going to listen to me for one? Mm-hmm. I'm a new face to the game, but also, am I going to be giving them correct information?
Right.
And so my whole goal was to try to get a final, just like a referee. I didn't get one, but I got a semi. It's like we still feel the passion the referees have to give back. And building relationships. Got to know a lot of people at President's Cup, but I took from my gap from President's Cup to NCS to what can I do better? And so I the 4 days I had off, I sat and reviewed what can I do better for these referees? What do they really want to know? But the instruction we got from the national coaches, Feeney and Mort at President's Cup was fantastic to help ease our mind and make it more comfortable is how I felt. And I came out of President's Cup knowing, all right, I'm going to do better the next one. And that's just how it kind of went.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So that first week, you're right, the instruction was fantastic from the national coaching side. And I think one of the things I want to highlight especially for the referees that were at the event is that, now I can't speak for all the referee coaches, but I think for you and me and probably many others, we share that same passion, like you're saying. We want to get better. We want to make sure, I know when I was talking to Rich Grady, he goes, we are just all about adding value to the referee experiences. So I shared your kind of experience a little bit with reflecting on going, what can I do to add that? And so to hear you talking about that, I hope our referees know how much we really, really, really want to make sure that it's as valuable as possible. So after you spent those couple days in reflection, then you launched into the NCS Midwest Regional Championships event. And so maybe just a brief summary of what that experience was like for you.
I mean, that's a whole different level. The games are different.
Yeah.
They're higher level referees. I got the pleasure to work with some high level games and high level referees that appreciated my work and I appreciated their work and them willing to listen. you know, a guy from South Dakota. And
Yeah.
the respect they gave was just phenomenal. And I felt what I was giving back to them, they're, you know, understanding. And I seen a couple of them put it into work on the next match they did. We were fortunate enough to have the same crew twice there.
Mm.
So as a coach mentor, I could see what I talked about in the first game, and they put it to work in the second. So it made you feel like, okay, this is getting, you know, better. I'm getting better, you know, and it was great. Doing NCS, I thought, you know, I got more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, just like your referee career, you get, the more games you do, the more comfortable you get. You know, you work with higher level referees, you get better. I mentored some higher level referees, and I got better as a mentor. I could find certain things. I could, you know, they could tell me certain things. It was just great. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, what a wonderful experience. And thank you on behalf of, you know, who am I speaking on behalf of an entire tournament, but for those that you impacted, and just your sense of humor, your everything that you brought to that. I think that's what makes it unique is the different personalities. Each person adds something to that event. It's a puzzle or a tapestry of sorts. And as each person brings their own unique giftedness, it adds to the richness of what's going on. So you added your piece, and that impacted, I know from my delegation in Kansas, that had a ripple effect. So on behalf of many, I appreciate what you provided, Tyler. And I look forward to chatting with you more. Like I said, we'll find a time to have a more prolonged interview to hear what's going on in your neck of the woods, to see where maybe, I don't know where folks are tuning in and listening from, but what might work in their area, to just kind of go, hey, this has worked for us. Maybe give it a shot in yours, to see what we can do for recruitment, retention, and development of officials. Any parting words that, like, if you don't say it, you're not going to sleep tonight? Kind of
You
thing?
know, everyone keep working hard. I mean, I worked hard. I ended up getting a final at NCS. That's great. You know, we're going to hit the lows, but bounce back, and there's always another day. I mean,
Right. That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks, Tyler. We appreciate you, man.
you bet. You have a good one now.
I'm excited to sit down with another participant from the Midwest Regional Championships, who also gets earned a selection to the national tournament, U.S. Youth Soccer National Tournament. So, Ali, who are you? Where are you from?
So I am, obviously my name there is Ali Zolgharnain. I am from Akron, Ohio, and I've been refereeing now around 10 years on and off. And kind of how I got started was, I think, similar to some of my peers. I was 15 or 16 years old. I was very involved in the game. My father was a professional soccer player for 20 years, came over from Iran to play soccer in this country, and we stayed. And I didn't want to work a normal job like all my other friends. I tried McDonald's, actually, and the whole, at that time, I think $7 an hour just wasn't for me. Being around all the greasy food, being a current athlete, I didn't want to do it. So my dad was like, hey, why don't you referee? I'll take you to the class and you can make some cash. So the rest was kind of history. When I was in high school, I would go to giant fields in Cleveland called Lodi, where I would play a game, and then I would ref a few games, and maybe play another game, and then ref a few games, and my mom would drop me off with lunch in the morning and then pick me up at night. So that's kind of how I got started in the whole thing.
Wow, that's awesome. Maybe, I mean, McDonald's now might be a better option now that they've raised the hourly wage.
Right.
But
you got
the
a
greasy
sign-on
foods
bonus too, right?
Yeah, the greasy food still exists, but the money is pretty good. That's awesome, though. That's a really cool. And so one of the things that we try to ask as we're developing new officials is, what is it that's going to kind of flip the switch for it to become something that, like, becomes passionate and they actually want to do something with? And I know this is going off script slightly, but so that's how you got started. What was it? Were there contributing factors that made you kind of go, hey, I really like to take this a little bit more seriously. I'd like to move up with this.
I think the more you see how in-depth the officiating world is, specifically in soccer, it becomes really cool. So when you start, you do just kind of youth games, rec games, you do the game, you go home, you don't really think about it. But once you start getting exposure to people and getting noticed, and getting invited to some tournaments, maybe out of state or out of the city, and you stay in a hotel and you're around a bunch of other referees at these more serious tournaments and people that share that passion, and you get involved more in the game, it becomes a lot more interesting and intriguing to pursue a career in that sense.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And I think in some of that, what you're saying is that somebody believed in you enough
Right.
to have a vote of confidence to say, hey, we're going to bring you. We're going to take
Right.
you onto this thing. And then you get into the referee nerddom, which is, you're right. It's very addictive, and it's exciting to see people that, while different walks of life, kind of come together over something that they're passionate about. I think that's great. Okay. So before we get to about your regionals experience, I want to just hear where you're at in your path as a referee. And if you want to go into what your goals look like, we can do that now, or we can do that after we talk about regionals. Up to you.
Sure. So this will be my first selection for U.S. Soccer Youth Regionals, and it's a very big achievement in my career. So where I'm at in my career is kind of, I wouldn't say that's a bad word for it, but it's kind of an important time. So going to U.S. Youth Soccer Regionals is going to probably take my career to the next level.
Nationals, right?
Excuse
Yes.
me. By getting exposure to some people that you wouldn't get exposure with anywhere else at this level. So that's that, and doing a lot of MPSL games and trying to crack into the USL is a big goal of mine. And then obviously on the college forefront of doing Division I games and trying to get better games every year.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. So let's talk about regionals, and
Sure.
then we can transition into how you're prepping for and what you're excited about on the national side. So selection to regionals, how many regional tournaments have you been to?
This would have been my fourth. So
Okay.
I went in 2017, and then I had to take a year off for internship stuff, and then this would have been my fourth one.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So what was your experience like? Number 4, you've been around the block, obviously, several times, but what was your experience like here? I think we already know what the high is,
Right.
that ultimate selection, but just give us a little bit of a debrief on your experience in Indianapolis.
So it was great. I mean, it's for anyone that's gone or knows about it, it's a grind. You get there day one, and it's really cool to see 250 some referees. Everyone's really, really locked in. And everyone comes from such different paths of life. You have fathers, you have mothers, you have people in college, but everyone kind of puts that to the side for 1 week and really focuses. So that's really cool. From the second you get there, you notice that. But it's great. You got to take care of your body, and honestly, leading up to it is the hardest part. So everyone's different, but most people prepare for this event for months in advance, and that's hydrating because it's very hot. That's training to be very fit to get to that, and then doing a lot of games for leading up to this point because you want to be as sharp mentally and physically as you can possibly be. So when you get there, it continues of taking care of your body. You stay in dorm rooms, so it's not the normal sleep routine you get, and I think you know that from being there yourself. So it's adjusting to that, putting the right fuel in your body, trying to stay fit, trying to stay hydrated, and for me, the biggest thing is trying to stay focused at all moments. You do all these games, and there's a lot of people watching, and it's really easy to look around a field and see, oh, who's watching? How hard am I going to run? And that's the biggest thing for me, and being a quote unquote veteran at this event. The first year you go, you're very, very nervous, and you kind of have no idea what's going on, and you're always looking around, who's watching me. But this year I found myself being focused from minute 1 to 90, not worrying about anything else other than what I can control in the game, and is staying as locked in as possible.
Yeah. Boy, if that isn't a good lesson just in general, just as we go out and do this job that we found ourselves in, the weirdos that we are that enjoy this, it's truly, that's probably a big challenge for a lot of people to just stay locked in and stay focused, especially with, you never know, outside life circumstances. Who knows what contributing factors are going on in somebody's brain, but being able to truly lock in and be engaged, it's important at this event, but it's important, more broadly outside of this. So that focus, that being locked in, the preparation, everything you described paid off for you in a selection to attend the U.S. Youth Soccer National Championships, which will take place in Orlando, I would say next month, but we are already in July. Summer's moving along quickly. So we talked before we started recording, what does preparation for that event look like for you?
Sure. So it started, I got home, I took a few days off. My legs were a little bit heavy. Just did a lot of stretching for a few days and wanted to kind of stay off of them. And now it's starting, and I started Friday a couple days ago, is preparing for the heat. So in Akron, I mean, I live in Ohio, it's hot, but it's not as hot as it's going to be in Florida. So everyone I've talked to, all my mentors who've been to the event, all the referee coaches say the biggest thing is preparing for the heat. So I try to do every other day. I run at the hottest time of the day, which is typically around 4 p.m. And I've been wearing, I wear a long sleeve Under Armour and 2 hoodies, and then probably sweatpants to replicate that Orlando heat, and just working on different heart rates, different intervals, and running. And I try to do about an hour a day. And when I'm taking that off day in between, I still do a little bit of cardio, but it's a lot lighter. Maybe just a neighborhood jog for 20 to 25 minutes to keep my heart rate up. But it's a good balance of not killing your legs, but staying fit, and again, preparing for that heat. And then also when I find myself watching TV at night after I've ran, I kind of turn the TV off and put on soccer and try to watch at least 30 minutes of soccer to stay mentally sharp, with watching a high level official do what he does best. And then also doing games. So in the next 3 weeks, I have a few assignments that I'm going to be doing, MPSL and WPSL stuff. So really the highest level I could possibly do in my area, and just to stay sharp, because you can replicate running outside in the heat. You can kind of watch referees do their thing on TV, but nothing is better than actually doing games. So those are the 3 biggest things. And then, of course, I guess the 4th would be the hydration piece, which, like I said, I've been doing for months now, and just watching what you put in your body. Because like you said, that's in 2 to 3 weeks. So everything you decide to put in your body now is going to affect you at that tournament in Orlando.
Right. Absolutely. Very good. So most excited about just the experience in general? Are there specifics that really kind of rev your engine, or what are you thinking?
I mean, last year I really wanted to go, and I was really disappointed I didn't prepare like I should last year, and not seeing my name pop up on that screen at the awards dinner. That's been a huge piece of motivation for me. So the past year I've been working my butt off to get to this point. And I have a mindset of seeing my name pop up this year. Being selected for nationals was great, but I feel like I'm not done. And I feel like I still kind of have a chip on my shoulder. So I want to keep going. So I'm looking forward to just continuing. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but staying as locked in as possible. And whether that's having the best possible tournament I can have, and doing a national championship, or killing the first 3 days. I mean, I'm not going to know what's going to happen with the assignments, but I really want to keep doing well. And my ultimate goal is to be a returner to get invited back next year. So.
Very good. Well, we will be watching and excited for you. And you have a support system that probably is larger than you even realize. The whole Midwest region is excited for everybody whose names popped up on that list, and are proud of you guys, and really excited to see how that tournament goes. Whether you get a final, so whatever it looks like, just we know that we'll be represented well. So best wishes to you as you continue to prepare for this event and beyond. It's for me, one of the most exciting things is seeing people that I've got a chance to meet that are really, really good people that happen to be good referees, and they go succeed. I think that is such a motivating factor to continue doing what we're doing, whether that be refereeing or giving back in a coaching capacity, or however we contribute to the community. So all that said, thank you so much for your time, and we are so thrilled to see where this goes. I'll give you the last word. Is there anything else that you want to plug here?
No, I mean, thank you for having me, but not to sound like a motivational speaker, but to all the fellow referees that are watching, when you think you can't go anymore, you can. Last summer when I wasn't selected, after I felt like I worked really hard and I felt really down about myself, it sucked and it was really low. But the high of feeling that achievement of getting chosen this year after failing last year is, I mean, as you know, there's nothing better. So keep going. If you don't get that assignment that you really wanted, that you thought maybe you deserved, if you don't get chosen for that tournament, whatever it is, you can make it. You just got to work a little bit harder. So
good stuff. Appreciate
Thanks,
you, man.
man.
Thanks
Appreciate
for your time.
it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching and engaging with the Check Complete podcast, episode 10 to be specific. We appreciate your support. I'm Gordy Wetmore alongside FIFA assistant referee Kyle Atkins. Kyle, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. If you have any feedback for us, we want to hear ideas for future episodes, things that are going on in your neck of the woods as you're out refereeing or however you're participating in the beautiful game. We would love to hear from you. You can engage with us on social media. Facebook is Check Complete Podcast. On Twitter and Instagram, at Check_Complete. On YouTube as well. We are not on Snapchat or any of the other Be Real. That's a thing now that kids are doing.
Be Real?
Yeah, Be Real.
It's new to me.
Yeah, it's weird. We're not on that. I don't even know what that is. Stupid. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you. If you have things for us, please reach out. You can also email us, info@checkcompletepodcast.com, questions at checkcompletepodcast.com, or you can email me, Gordy, Gordie, at checkcompletepodcast.com, or you could not email us at all. Whatever you want to do. Okay. But if you do have anything negative, Kyle,
any negative feedback, we are more than welcome to receive that, as long as you send it written in on a 1600 heavy-duty sack pack from OSI. Just write it on there and send it on into us, and we'll get right back to you.
Yeah, well, for sure. All right, thanks for engaging with the Check Complete Podcast. Follow us, like us, subscribe, retweet, share. We appreciate your support. We'll see you back soon for episode 11.